early on, people have to be a pioneer. People have to be ready to get their hands really dirty and working and being resilient, realizing that, hey, the franchisor, this is not Chick-fil-A. This is not McDonald's or Subway where they have it all figured out. There's a lot of learnings between the first one open and the 100th open.
Erik Van Horn, what's up, buddy?
Oh, it's good to be here, Rick.
Yeah, glad to have you, man. It's nice, bright and early where you are, right? Was it 8 o'clock? What are you, Mountain Time?
8 o'clock. My earliest meetings are on Monday. I got a partner meeting at 7 a.m. And sometimes that's rough to get to.
That's right. Got to get the kids up, get them rolling, and get to your 7 o'clock meeting. Speaking of kids, look, man, I gave you the heads up before we got on here. You know how this works. Did you bring a dad joke?
It's going to be the lamest one you've ever heard.
Then it'll be the best one I've ever heard. Fire away.
But like I'm the sarcastic, dry sense of humor guy, and I'm always making the kids roll their eyes. And this is not a great joke, just so you know. But it has origins back to high school for me. But like I'm again always making stupid jokes with the girls, certainly making their eyes roll. But we go out hiking, we're anywhere. I'm like, we need to make like a tree and leaf, and I had a friend in high school growing up, and his name was Leaf. So we would always say that. It was even dumber back then. But yeah, I'm always saying stupid stuff with the girls and making them just like,
That's your job. You have to be as cringy as possible.
Yeah. I gotta embarrass them as much as I can. And I do I was we were in this gives you a sense of like what I do with them. We were in Italy I think it was Milan, like fashion.
Yeah, fancy Italy.
I saw someone walking with like jeans on, but they cut off half of their jeans all up on their legs. So it's like half pants, half shorts. And I'm like, I told the girls, I'm like, that's a great idea. I've never seen anybody in Spearfish, South Dakota do that. I had pants on. I just hiked it all the way up and just started owning it and walking. And they could not believe I was doing it. My wife was dying and took a video. So when I say I do stupid stuff with the girls, that's the kind of stuff that I do.
Yeah. Well, good for you. I did that when my kids were that age as well. And I don't know, you probably didn't hear this because you're far away from me, but there was a truckload full of hair that turned over on the highway here, 2,000 pounds of hair, and they were all shipping it away to go and make wigs, right? So anyway, it turns over on the highway, shut down the highway for like 4 hours. Atlanta traffic is horrible as it is, and they're not really sure what happened, but the police are still combing the area. Dude, the worst. All right, we got
from you. I need to learn from you. I knew mine was going to be lame, but that's okay. And I'm glad my little story of owning the runway in Italy. I'm glad I remembered that.
Yeah, look, man, you gotta work it. You're in Milan. You win in Rome. No pun intended. Mm-hmm. All right, look. You are a very interesting guy. I would do you a disservice trying to explain your background. But if you don't mind, share your background with our audience. It's pretty vast, but man, I'd love to hear it all. So share with me your trajectory in not just the franchise business, but all the other things that you do as well.
I got started, going back into high school, I was working in my dad's like construction business as long as I can remember. And I thought, as a senior in high school, I'm like, I don't want to be doing this when I grow up. This is not what I want to do. So I went to college, got a business degree, and I chose Montana State University to go to school because you could do fly fishing and skiing and hiking and biking and all that. So like, that's why I went to school, is to avoid construction. And I went to college where I could have fun doing that type of stuff. Graduated and then went to Europe for a little while, lived there. And then I was going to come back to the States to go to law school. And I was a straight C student. So law school was not going to be easy for me. I was registered, ready to go. And then I wisened up, stopped, and bought a lawnmower and some like mowing equipment, started a little lawn business. I was out in front of somebody's house, like planting flowers, and she came out and she said, gave me some tea, and she's like, "Hey, like, what are you doing? What do you want to do when you grow up?" Basically, was a question. I'm like, a real estate investor, because I was taking real estate classes. I was going to be a real estate agent, and she's like, "Oh, we did that 20 years ago." Long story short, I left that job with an option contract to buy her condo down by the beach for $1 and pay the closing costs and take over her mortgage. Like, that was what I did, is I took over her mortgage because they didn't want it anymore. And there was nothing unethical about it or anything like that. She was actually happy. She's like, "You seem like a nice young man. Like, we want to do this. We want to sell this. And this is how we want to sell it." So I went to my parents. I said, "Hey, I got this deal. I don't have $5,000 for the closing costs. You want to pay for it, and we'll split this deal." And they said, "It sounds too good to be true." And my broker at the time said, if they don't do it, I'll do it. So they ended up doing that with me. And I made my first, large chunk of change within about, a few months, because they ended up buying me out. And then I rolled that into my first franchise, which was Liberty Tax Service. And that was an interesting part of my journey. I was there for about 10 years. I bought a franchise there. I was living in Virginia Beach. The franchise that I bought was in Kansas City. We hadn't been there before. There was about 15 locations that opened up in Kansas City that year. I was one of those, along with a number of my now friends. And I got a deep dive into business. I was, a baptism by fire. And because in the tax business, you have to get it right, because you have a few, like 4 weeks where you do the majority of your business for the entire year in those 4 weeks. And so I learned how to listen to the franchisor. I learned how to market. I learned that what I thought was a lot of marketing wasn't enough. So I had to pivot really fast and do a lot more of that to be able to make sure I did okay that tax season. And then we did all right. And then I bought an area development, which is like a master franchise for the Austin, Texas market that year. And that's when I really started to learn franchising. And we grew that area of Austin from 4 stores when we bought it, and we sold it about 8 or 9 years later. And we had 42 locations. And so I was like a mini franchisor in that market. And all the while, I was selling franchises at the corporate office. So I learned how to be a franchisee. I learned how to sell franchises, and I learned how to be a franchisor, developing 42 locations in Austin. And then from there, Rick, I just went on to do other things in franchising. We can get into that if you want, but that's the genesis. That's my origin story. That's how I got started in franchising.
Oh, that's awesome. That was my first business, was landscaping as well. Started in like probably late elementary school, but I built it up. And then when it was time to buy a car, which was 15 turning 16, I sold my book of business that had a bunch of my friends working for me to an actual commercial landscape company for like, I don't know, it was like $6,000. But at the time, dude, that was massive money. And I bought my first Jeep with that. It was the biggest piece of crap ever, but I was so proud of it. And I bought it with my own money. And I had my first exit at 15. So it's like, I hear you, dude. Yeah, it was awesome. I was wealthy at that point. Blew every dime on this Jeep.
Yeah.
Well, tell everyone what you do now, because you have your hands in lots of different pots, but you're both on the franchisor side and the franchisee side, if I understand correctly. So maybe we don't cover the gap, but catch us up. Like, where are you right now?
So right now, the gap is over the next 10 years, I had about 6 different brands as a franchisee. That's what I did in partnerships. And I was working as a consultant, as a broker, helping people find franchise opportunities too. So I was a consultant and a franchisee. And then I started a franchisor with a friend of mine in the service-based business. And we started that. It was in the roofing space. We had different visions. They wanted to grow to a bunch of different franchises. I wanted to do one brand and do it well and do it big and have an exit in a few years. versus make more money by having a bunch of franchises. So I took an early exit out of that one after we had our first few trainings. So I was there from the very beginning, bringing everything together, bringing on our first franchisees, the training, getting them started, and then I took an early exit out of that. Then I started to really see what I wanted to do next because I'd done everything in franchising at that point. And a friend of mine, Jeff Herr, he's like, "Hey, we've just had a nice exit. We're thinking about what we're going to do next." And so Jeff and his business partner Jim and I were just kind of like, "What do we do next?" And we spent about a year and really seeing what we wanted to do, and that was the beginning of Front Street Equity Partners. And we were like, "What do we enjoy?" So that was kind of the first thing. What do we enjoy in franchising, and what are we good at that we don't want to do anymore? And what we were both good at, especially Jeff and I, is selling franchises, brokering franchises, and we were very, very good at that. But we did not want to do that anymore. And so we went for a search, and eventually our business partner now, Bobby Brennan, came on board as a partner and is the one leading the franchise sales organization piece of Front Street. So really what I do now is the main thing is Front Street. We have a franchise sales organization piece of that, and then we have an advisory kind of private equity piece of that where we get in the trenches with franchisors, not only helping them sell franchises, but really advising them in the trenches with them day in and day out as they grow the business. And so as a result, we can't. Did you see my quick reflexes right there?
Cat-like, I would say.
Yeah, cat-like. The audience is like, "What's he talking about?" Earlier, there was a wasp up on my screen. I'm like, I know it's going to land on me at some point. Yeah. It landed on me and did not get a stinger in me.
That's right. He's that fast, folks. You had to see it. You probably can't see it, honestly. The naked eye couldn't catch it.
I could be lying right now. So at Front Street, we are in the trenches with our franchise brands day in and day out. We can't bring on too many at one time because we enjoy helping them build enterprise value, as you know, and it's like what you've created. So that's what we do at Front Street. As on the side, in a way, I help franchisees through a franchisee mastermind. Franchisees are, part of a group, and I'm always bringing in cool people and helping franchisees like grow and scale their franchises because I've done it so many times, and that's a real low price deal. And then I have a franchisor mastermind that is not very expensive either because they just need help. And I spend probably an hour a week coaching franchisors in a consulting role where they pay me a lot of money per hour. I'm like, I don't want to charge people a lot of money. I don't even like doing these things very often, but I want to help franchisors. And so I do that through the franchisor mastermind. And then last is we have a mastermind for investing, passive investing, tax savings, helping people. People are really good at making money, entrepreneurs. They're not so great at like investing money that they make and keeping that money. And so that's an expensive mastermind that I have with my friend Justin Donald. So that brings you up to speed.
Yeah, man. Well, is that all? That's what I want to say in a laughing manner. Well, let's get down to business. And look, I mean, our audience is people that are typically already Alloy franchisees and or potential Alloy franchisees. So if you can think of what I have 3. I know that's going to be hard. How about just we'll keep it, say 3 to 5, whatever you feel comfortable with. Maybe it's just 1. What are really good character traits that make a good franchisee?
I'm pausing because it's different at different times. You tell me what direction you want to go, because early on, the character trait is you have to be a pioneer. Like when you're early on with the franchise, and you hear the term emerging, they don't have everything figured out, even though they might act like they do or present like they do. They don't have everything figured out. Even Front Street brands, when we come in and we are helping these young franchisors, we are building a lot of things as the franchisor is growing. So I think early on, people have to be a pioneer. People have to be ready to get their hands really dirty and working and realize and being resilient, realizing that, hey, the franchisor, this is not Chick-fil-A. This is not McDonald's or Subway where they have it all figured out. They are still building systems, even though they have systems, they have training, they have processes. It's not like it's going to be 5 years later, 100, 150 franchisees open. There's a lot of learnings between the first one open and the 100th open. And I think what we look for in franchisees that are early on is they have to have that. If they don't have that, it's going to be really difficult for them because there's just misaligned expectations, and helping them understand what that really means. What does it mean to be a pioneer versus a settler or a follower or somebody that comes in and just has a model they can just simply execute? So I think that pioneering trait early on is very important. And then I think as a franchisee of a business that has a lot of stuff figured out already, or they're just past that emerging stage, I think you need to be teachable as a franchisee. The more teachable you are, the more you're going to absorb from the corporate office. You're going to absorb from other franchisees. You're going to absorb from industry experts, industry knowledge, other entrepreneurs. And I think that is a trait that you need to be a leader and you need to be a learner. And it's really hard for leaders, hard charging type A people to also have the ears to listen and be like, what am I missing? An example of that, I remember early on at Liberty, we would go into our tax office all the time, and I just 5 locations, 45 days into the season, I'm going in and out of these things all day long, and I can go in and out and not realize the open sign's not on. Like the open sign is off because we didn't have a add on a checklist to have the open sign turned on, or the employees just get used to it because it's just muscle memory for them to go in. And I'm like, and I went to a tax office to visit, and they're like, you need to have your open sign on, and it needs to be big, and you need to have 2 of them, and you need to have neon lights around the windows because that's how people see you. So you have to be teachable. And you go into those environments listening to other franchisees, and if you don't have an ear to learn what you're not doing, you're always going to just have a checklist in your mind of what they're doing that you are doing, and you're never going to improve. So that's what I would, some character traits that I would say.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I mean, obviously, I would concur based on we were an emerging franchise. I was laughing because we've been emerging for years. And of course, we've been in business for 34 years. So it's funny to be an emerging anything, right? It's like, but at one of the consultant network events recently, we won like best mature franchise. I'm like, wow, that was fast. We didn't even have any adolescents. We went from like baby emerging to like super mature overnight. And of course, obviously they don't know us well because we're absolutely not very mature. We tell dad jokes and everything at every podcast, but we laughed about that. But yeah, it's with 120 or so open and opening 5 to 8 a month, and we're sort of in this flywheel now. It is interesting. It's a different character profile. So I would agree. The next question, it's a great question, man. And I just listened to a whole podcast you did on it. But for our audience, how would you define the term semi-absentee?
I've been talking about that a lot more recently because I think in general, that's a very misunderstood term. And I'm take both sides of it at times. And you're going to see more content with me doing that because can you be semi-absentee in a franchise? Absolutely. Is there such thing as a semi-absentee franchise? I don't think so. I mean, you can do that thing semi-absentee. As an entrepreneur, you can be semi-absentee in any business, but you have to structure it the right way. So when I think about semi-absentee, I think about an owner that is wearing the hat of an owner, or as a board member, or as um, somebody overseeing the main leader. So let me walk you through it this way. You open up your first location, you're the owner operator, you're doing everything in that business. You're working 40 to 70 hours a week, and you're wearing every hat, janitor, trainer,
Yeah.
whatever it is. Like,
Yep.
that's what you do. And then you open up a second location, and now you have a manager or an assistant manager in location number one. And now you're probably wearing a manager hat in one of those locations. So let's say you have a manager in one, an assistant manager in the other. So you're kind of that manager overseeing the other manager and overseeing an assistant manager in two locations. And then you open up, and so you're not doing everything, because you can't work 80 hours a week, 40 in each location during business hours like that. You just can't do that. So you're naturally going to burnout or semi-absentee, or you're going down this path where something has to change. So now you open up your third location, you have assistant managers or managers in these three locations. If you just have assistant managers, you are probably a manager slash district operational manager, where you are probably working 60 hours a week in a management role, overseeing not as competent assistant managers in each location. Or you are you have high level managers in each location, and they're really running each of those locations very well. They've got a team under them, and you're coaching and training those managers. And so I would say, you're not an entrepreneur, you're not a franchisee, like, you are a district operation, like that's what you're, district operational person. Like, that's who you are. That's the role you're fulfilling. And that role, if you had to put a number on it, probably $150,000 a year role. But that's what you are. So the way to get to semi-absentee is to hire that district operational role. So that way you are not managing the managers. You are now managing a high level person. You could even call them a CEO, that is managing the managers, and they can help you go from 3 to 4 to 5 to 6 to 7. Like, that's what you do. The trade-off is, let's say you're making, $300,000 a year out of your locations at that point, and you have to hire someone for $150,000 a year. You're just now cut your net profit in half. You cut if you're using that money to live on, like, you can't do that anymore because you cut it in half. So there's a trade-off. You're buying back your time when you're doing that. And I think that's semi-absentee. And we've done that at different times. At Sola Salons, there was 4 of us owners, and we're like, we need to hire somebody to oversee everything for us. And we only had 3 locations at the time. And we're like, how much less money are we going to take every year to be able to hire that person? It was easy for us. I think we each, I think we paid $150,000 at that time. With 4 of us, that was only like $30,000 a year that we're like, let's pay this to somebody so we don't have to really do anything. And that's what we did. And we were probably not making even $130,000 a year because we were just starting out. But we're like, we don't want to do this anymore. We want freedom. We want time. And we don't need to take that money out. We want to grow and scale this thing. So we were making 0. We hired him, and he took us from 3 to 12 faster than we could have done that ourselves. And we had one meeting a week, and then quarterly face-to-face meetings. And he did everything for us. He was a better owner than we were.
Right.
And so that's when I think semi-absentee, that's what it is. Now you can replace yourself to be semi-absentee with 1 location or 2 locations or 3 or 10. But I think that's the biggest challenge is people don't want to pay somebody to do what they think they could be doing. And so that's why they're stuck in being an active owner in their business, and they don't know what else they could be doing. And I don't think they value strategy, they value thinking time, they value the things that a real semi-absentee owner does, because It's just you value work, you value the hours that you put in early on in these franchise as a franchisee. So that's as I've been thinking more about that semi-absentee pathway. That's kind of how I'm starting to define it.
Yeah, no, yeah, we see that with our most successful franchise groups. Like we've got a group that has 14, and they were franchisee of the year. They don't have all 14 open yet. They might have 7 open, but I think 6 of them are in our top 15 performers. I mean, they really knock it out of the park. The investor is a client here at our original gym, friend, if you will. And then he has a childhood friend that's the operating partner that moved to Charlotte that's where their epicenter is. And they own some in Salt Lake as well. And then he runs the business, right? And it works out really well. And we've seen that with other groups as well, where you have the investor who works on, again, maybe they want to scale through, they're reaching out to other Alloy franchisees. They want speeds. They're trying to grow through acquisition, and they're building tools and mechanisms to value Alloy locations so they can, gobble them up if it's not their cup of tea or for whatever reason. But they always have that operating partner in there who knows the business really well, knows how to make the sausage, right? It's going to hire the people, drive the P&Ls, do all the things. And that is the best setup. I think maybe where people always ask me, like, what have I learned, right, since we've been in business? And I don't like the term semi-absentee either. And I think I did hear you say this, and it was something that really stuck with me, which is like, it's not a right of yours to be semi-absentee. You have to earn it. So you might have a location where you have to learn to make the sausage, right? We have a lot of really good entrepreneurs in our system that own multiple other types of businesses, guys like you that have 3, 4, 5 different business ventures. Some of them are what they would call horizontal income, which means they make money while they're sleeping. It's like that real estate syndicate, self-storage, all the things, right? We get it. But this is not that. It's a living, breathing entity. And a lot of them have their sites on 10, 20 locations. It's like, well, I realize you don't want to spend a lot of time. Your opportunity cost for spending a bunch of time in one location may not be for you. But if your goal is to have 10 to 20, it might be worth spending some time here to learn to make the sausage. Or to your point, give up some equity, right? Real or phantom, whatever that may be. Do Chick-fil-A, right? Do a profit split or something. There's a million ways to skin it, right? But bring somebody in who can run the business in if you want to be truly semi-absentee and treat it more as an investment. But you have to have that interested party. It's not a business any business where you can open it, just hire a team locally and lead them from afar. That is, if you are the luckiest person in the world and you hire the freak of all freaks local manager, right? Good for you, but that is not usual. And so we ran into that a little bit as well, where it was like, well, this thing, we work really hard to make it look so simple. It's small footprint. You got 3 or 4 employees. If you're at 500K AUVs, which is, for people listening, that's what the location will make in a year. If you're there, you can normally do pretty well with margin, if you're able to get there. So it looks great. And it's like, oh, this is simple and it looks cool. So it's like, build it and they will come. I'm like, it doesn't work that way. If you've ever consumed fitness, it might have felt fun and exciting. And you had a trainer and you're like, I'd love to do this. This is so easy, man. Just hang out all day. But on the back end of that's a real business, right? It's like ice cream. It's like, yeah, it's fun to eat it, but like you still got to sell it and order the product and, all the things, right? And so we found that exact same thing. So anyway, I appreciate that, man. I love that message. And I would 100% agree just based on what we've observed thus far. And that is our advice. It's like, listen, it's just, you have to be involved in some level. And if it's not going to be you guys need to bring somebody in on your team that can do it, especially if you have, our average franchisee buys 3 locations. So if you've got 3, 6 locations, it's like, yeah, they're going to eat into your profit. Probably won't make any money for the first few, but your opportunity to get to that 6 to 10 profitably is exponentially higher if you've got a real operator in there. So I really appreciate that advice. That's awesome.
Yeah. And I think the easy, I talked about all the things I do. And what I didn't mention is I'm a franchisee in some partnerships right now. And I am that passive. I'm semi-absentee because I am just the investor. I put money in. I think I'm about 25% owner, but I put the money in, and this is the easiest way to be semi-absentee. Put the money in. Everyone puts equal money in, 25%, let's call it $25,000 each on a $100,000 investment. And then the operating partner, for me, we have 2 operating partners, and they get paid. Like, we pay them, and we pay them well, because I don't want them to get jealous of me not working and they want to be me. And because it's their choice to be getting paid. And then at some point, the businesses will be doing well enough and they're like, I want to keep doing this because I'm making a lot of money, or I want to be semi-absentee or absentee like Erik is. And so they can choose to stop taking that money, and we will have more than enough money to pay that district operational manager to come in, and then they'll continue to manage that person. But that is, it sounds like that's how some of your franchisees are doing it with investors, and that's the simplest way that I found to do it as an investor. And by the way, these people were proven operators too, and so I just didn't take a chance on someone coming from accounting wanting to be an entrepreneur. Like these were proven operators, and that's worked really well for me. And the other thing that's worked well for me, and I've learned it the hard way, is if I have businesses where I am relying on a manager in a different state and I don't have a business partner in that state, that has not worked out well for me. That always seems to turn out poorly for me. And it might be me. There might be a better way to do it. But having partners, business partners, true business partners that live in the market, that's always that's worked out well for me as well.
Yeah. We have a guy who he's exited a few businesses, young man, really smart guy, and he's got some institutional investing and he wants to go big with Alloy. And that was the advice. It's like, listen, if you want to roll into a market, buy every location in that market. If it's a market like Austin where there's maybe 8-10 locations, right? Buy all of them and buy all the other available territories, and then stick a regional guy in there. That's the only way it's going to work, right? You can't have, I shouldn't say it won't work, but to have scattershot, one club here, one club there, that's going to be really tough to manage. And so I know other folks and other brands who've been able to do that, but they're totally different concepts. So for ours, it's like, have a tranche of clubs that can generate enough revenue to support a regional when they're up and running, put them in there and help them build it, right? Support them however you need to. So yeah, man, totally get it. Well, I'm glad to hear that, because obviously you have a lot more experience than we do. And we feel like that's what we're seeing, and it seems to be panning out. But yeah, I'm glad to hear it from a guy as seasoned as you, that's the ticket. If you want that, that elusive semi-absentee ownership, that's probably the only way you're going to go about it. Otherwise, plan to work your ass off for a few years to really figure out how it's made, and then hire your regional. But it's not a set it and forget it. It's not a real estate syndicate. It's not a self-storage, investment, as you know. And you guys are obviously coaching people and investing in things like that as well. And you know that well. Totally different ballgame, right? It's a living, breathing entity, almost like a person. It needs attention and love and support and nourishment and all the things that a child would need in some ways, right? Especially when it's young. So, well, look, man, we could keep people on it forever. I could probably pick your brain. I probably need to just join your group and pay you to keep asking all these questions. But as I mentioned pre-podcast, my goal would be to get you out maybe for conference next year. And, maybe we could have you speak and then run a workshop in the afternoon or something. I don't know, man. I'll brainstorm on it. But you're just a wealth of knowledge. And I really appreciate you put out a ton of free content. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. It is a real service to the industry. And I say that from the heart, like, thank you for what you do for our industry overall. I see you from my seat as you just give. And I know you monetize a couple of things, but even at those, the amount that you charge people is almost, it's a crime. It's so low for what they get. So appreciate you, man, and what you do in the industry. And I'll get your contact information for everybody in a minute, but I have one more bonus question for you. And the question would be, gun to your head, you have to sing karaoke. What are you singing and why?
Oh my gosh, I have no idea. Like, I legit have no idea. I don't sing. We go to karaoke. We did like a thing in Florida in the Keys with the Front Street team. And these guys are all doing karaoke. I'm in the audience watching, laughing, enjoying, but I will never sing karaoke. So gun
to your head. Got to do it.
Dead. I'm dead. I am dead, Rick. I would not be up there singing. So
not going to do it.
Be the only guy that comes in that bonus question that says, I'm dead. Just shoot me, because I'm not up there to sing.
Well, I've never had, props to you. I've never had that answer, but you're gonna take one to the dome. I love it, man. I love it. Well, look, I appreciate you. What's the easiest way to get a hold of you? I'll put it in the show notes, obviously, but how can people hear more about you and from you?
Go to franchisesecrets.com. Check that out. That's my podcast and some different things. And then interested in the masterminds, it's scalable franchise. And that's probably the easiest way. But just find me on social, join that Franchise Secrets. Well, probably the easiest way is franchisesecretsgroup.com. You can get into the Franchise Secrets group, which is a great Facebook community. But yeah, that's the easiest way. And I appreciate you having me on. Like, I've watched you. We had early conversations. I've watched you grow this thing. And we haven't had many conversations, like one-on-one conversations, but I know how well Alloy is doing. When I say well, I don't mean just the growth of it, but like how you as a leader, as a founder, are doing a lot of the right things. And I'm privy to a lot of private conversations. And it's so nice when I hear great things that brands like you are doing. And you're at such a great point in your trajectory of, selling as many as you are and opening up as many as you are. Because there's a lot of people that can claim those stats that you have of we've sold X amount, but the fact that you're opening on the pace that you are says a lot about you, a lot about your team. And so I appreciate what you've done to the franchise industry as being a leader of somebody doing it the right way.
Well, look, man, again, thank you very much. I'm honored to have you here today. Thanks for spending your time with us. And again, thanks for the kind words, man. It's always great to hear that because, as you know, when you're working away in your little cave, you wonder if you're losing your mind sometimes. So it's always good to get out and have these conversations. So I appreciate it. Well, again, thanks a million, Erik. I'll put everything in the show notes, man. Appreciate you, brother. And we will talk to you soon. And hopefully I'll talk you into coming to conference.
Awesome. Thanks, man.
All right, buddy. Cheers.